Hello everyone and welcome back to Godsol's Turnbuckle, and today we're going to do something a little bit different here on the channel. I am going to go over what I feel are the positives and the negatives of AEW pay-per-views. I am going to do this with WWE PLEs in another video as well, so be on the lookout for that. I did want to go ahead and start with everything with AEW though. In a case like this, I do always want to make mention that this is more my own personal opinions of what I feel is a positive or negative about like these particular pay-per-views. And honestly, anything I can say here, you may end up feeling differently or the opposite of what I think is a positive or negative on these particular shows. Feel free to leave a comment down below as well how what you feel are like positives and negatives of an AEW pay-per-view. As we're gonna go ahead and get started with everything, I like to start with positive notes, and this is a very simple one. And I think a lot of people would probably agree with this. Match quality is very high within the AEW pay-per-views in the terms of the bell-to-bell ring action, and even in many cases, if it's not just like a bell-to-bell ring action style match, it's also storytelling within those matches as well. They usually do try to continue and convey the story that they've been telling on TV to the match itself. At least that's how I feel, especially like a Will Ospreay match. To go along with everything, he's very good about conveying what he wants the story to be throughout the entire match. And like I said, pay-per-view quality matches are extremely high within the AEW side of everything. It's usually very enjoyable shows in terms of the bell-to-bell action to go along with it. So I would have to consider that a massive positive on their end. Also, I feel like this is a positive, and I'll kind of convey this a little bit differently when we get to the WWE side of stuff in the other video. But for me, I like the aspect that there's very little downtime between matches. You may get a video package here or there, or a special entrance, or just in that aspect of everything. Like I said, there's not much time between the end of a match and then the entrances and the bell ringing for the next match. Like I said, you may get a video package here or there. You may get a very special entrance in some way, shape, or form as well, but very little downtime with this. Now, another thing that I think that is a very much positive here is that the crowds themselves are usually extremely hot throughout the entire time. They're usually into the action, maybe with the exception of one or two matches where maybe they feel burnt out or something in that sense, but usually throughout the entire night, the crowds themselves are into everything that they're seeing. And honestly, you usually get much bigger crowds with the AEW pay-per-views as well. So it just gives a better environment to go along with it. And the last positive I have in here, to kind of go over things really quickly, is that honestly, I don't think too many people would think about this as being as a positive, but you usually have a decent amount of options of where you can purchase the AEW pay-per-views. And you don't have to necessarily have a VPN or anything like that to go ahead and do it. I mean, you do have the whole aspect of you could get it on YouTube. Triller TV. There's many other international options that you can go along with it for international audiences. Bleacher Report is now out of the game with this, but now also with everything going on, you still have plenty of options to go to. You don't necessarily have to go to one place or you're not like tied down to like one place to go ahead and go ahead and get the pay-per-views. And now AEW's got a streaming deal with Max, and they're going to have their pay-per-views on Max as well, and you still have the other options, but then you also have the potential option of getting the pay-per-view on Max at a discounted rate. As of this time, they have not done a pay-per-view on there yet, so I don't think we know what that discount is going to be quite yet. But if that discount is not sufficient enough for people to want to get a Max subscription and go over there to purchase the pay-per-views, they'll still have options to go ahead and get those pay-per-views elsewhere. Now, in the terms of everything on the negative side, there are a couple of things that I personally think are would be considered negatives, and in some cases this has changed just a little bit over the last few months as well. So we may see a shift in what they're doing with the pay-per-views. One is that usually the length of the pay-per-views are a little too long for my liking. I've always been a big fan of that, just before 3 hours, maybe to a 3.5 hour mark. Now, World's End ended in about 3.5 hours recently. And I personally also would think bigger pay per views such as Revolution, such as Double or Nothing, All In, even Full Gear to a certain degree, their original four pay per views probably should go that 4 hour mark because they are their major pay per views, should be the bigger pay per views throughout the year. But honestly, it's always all the other pay per views. You get the Forbidden Doors, you get the Wrestle Dreams, you get the World's Ends, you get all their other pay per views, and generally they run that 4 hour mark. And I personally get burnt out of watching it just after that 3.5 hour mark. And it feels like in some cases, matches just feel like they drag on when you know the show's going to go about 4 hours. On my own personal opinion of that, which also leads into another slight negative there. Though pay-per-view matches are extremely high quality from AEW, oftentimes there can be too many of them. Usually there's about 8 to 10 matches. I think eight's kind of on that spot where it's like, okay, there's not too many matches on the card, and we've seen that kind of recently as well. So that may be changing a little bit. But usually a lot of times you're getting that 9, 10 match card, and that's for the main pay-per-view show. I'm not even considering the pre-show where you technically don't have to watch that one. So I usually don't count those in there, but usually you get if you are a person who's wanting to watch everything that they have, including like the 0 hour stuff, going into the main card, it can be somewhere between 13 to 14 matches in most cases, because usually they have about 3 to 4 matches on 0 hour, which also leads you to probably be watching around that 5 hour mark, which again is kind of extending to that point of like, I'm getting really tired out from watching everything. It again, for me personally on that one. And then this one's actually also changed quite a bit as well recently, but going into last year as well, they oftentimes did lean on a lot of gimmick matches. Especially back in the 2023 side of everything, where you could think it like, I forget which pay-per-view it was. It may have been Full Gear, may have been All Out. I forget exactly which one it was, but no, it was actually a Double or Nothing. So it's back there. They had a lot of gimmick matches going on. Like you had a unsanctioned match. And then I believe they had an FTW match, and then you had Anarchy in the Arena. A lot of things, and then also I believe they had a ladder match going on in there as well. Like sometimes some of the pay-per-views can be using the gimmicks just a little too much to a certain degree. Now, over the last few pay-per-views, I feel like that's changed quite a bit. Where you don't get so many gimmick matches in there. Yeah, you may get the Casino Gauntlet match. You may get a ladder match in there as well, or maybe a no disqualification match, one or the other, but you don't usually have every single, I won't say every single match, but you won't have a good majority of the matches throughout the night actually being gimmick matches. So I do see that kind of changing a little bit here. And I'm not saying that I don't like gimmick matches by any stretch of the imagination. It's just one of those things where if a lot of them have gimmicks, they kind of just run into each other. And it's just, what are we doing here? It's like, this match is named this, but it's it has no rules. But then you have an FTW match, which obviously is gone now because they've retired the FTW title. Taz and Hook have retired that, so that's gone. But like when you were doing that, it's like, oh, you had an unsanctioned match, no rules. FTW match, no rules. Anarchy in the Arena, no rules. But they all have like different names to them. So That's just how I personally feel on that particular side of it. Now, in terms of negatives, those are really the only negatives I can really think of, and I think they're kind of nitpicky negatives to a certain degree as well. And obviously, your opinion can be a little bit different from those from what I've said in here to go along with that. So, with that being said, that's going to be the end of the video on this one. If you did like the content, feel free to like, share, subscribe to the channel if you so wish. Also, feel free to put in the comments as well what you think are positives towards AEW pay-per-views, and also what you think are negatives towards AEW pay-per-views as well. And with that being said, everybody, I hope you all take care, stay safe, stay healthy, and have a great rest of your day.